Amé, je suis en bas, tu peux venir m'ouvrir s'il te plaît?
Bonsoir et bienvenue dans La Porte qui claque, l'endroit où tout le monde est le bienvenu. Installe-toi, moi c'est Amélia, mais ici on m'appelle Mimo ou Amé. Hi! Oh my god, I've never started a podcast in English. I was like, what am I supposed to say right now? But welcome into the episode number 29. So this episode is fully in English, and if you're listening to this and not understanding what I'm saying, this episode is full in English, but I've already pre-recorded the same one in French. So go to the episodes written Savoir tourner la page, version française, and then you'll be able to fully understand it. This time I wanted to change it up a bit. Instead of doing franglais, doing something only English, only French. So if at some point in this episode you don't know what I'm going on about and you're struggling to understand, you can just go to the French episode and I'll be back doing franglais episodes next time. I just wanted to switch things up for this time and try something new. So make sure to tell me on Instagram if you like this new concept of doing fully English, fully French. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get into the subject and try to remember what I fully said in the other episode so you can listen in English. Actually, since coming back from Greece, my parents and my brother have commented on how my English accent has changed and has become more international English. So I'm kind of offended, to be honest. I really don't want to lose the British accent, but maybe make it more understandable for you listening right now, and I'll try to speak slowly to make it fully understandable. And I'm not gonna lie, this was a request from my friends that only speak English. I'm thinking about you, Vicente. I hope you're listening to this right now because you're the one that asked for it. Anyway, so today I'm gonna talk about the fact that things come to an end and just turning the page of the book of your life and just going ahead with it due to the fact that my 3 months in Greece have come to an end and it feels so weird right now to be speaking fully in English. Wait. Anyway, my 3 months in Greece have come to an end. And now I have to change and go on with life, and it feels so weird. And I feel like this period of in time of the year, everyone is transitioning. You could be the end of collège in French, lycée, any part of high school or simple school year, anything is coming to an end. So I felt like it was a need to create a podcast on this. I'm gonna try and put some sense about the expression, why does everything good come to an end? Because I feel it's kind of frustrating, and I started to do research on it and I couldn't find many TED Talks or videos about it. So I was thinking maybe make some audio content would be really interesting. And it's just a conversation that I've been having with many people these last few days and last few weeks about things coming to an end. So while people were talking, I was taking mind notes about what they were saying and taking into account their experiences and stuff to try and cross information and create this podcast. So this is what I've learned from these conversations about moving on. I've divided this podcast in 2 parts like I did normally, where in the first part I'm going to do a part about understanding and why do things actually come to an end and how can we deal with it. And no, the second part is more going to be how we can deal with it and literally mourning the past and growing from it. So without further notice, I'm going to get into the first part about understanding. And I started writing notes about this podcast, I would say 3 weeks ago, when I knew that I was coming back this week, when I was planning my podcasts. And now that it came to actually recording it, I felt like it was too soon to actually record it, bearing in mind I've only been back for 2 days. So I was maybe it's too soon. But at the same time, then I realized I've grieved a lot of past moments in my life. I did an Erasmus, I've studied 2 years in Lyon. I've done high school, middle school, primary school. It's not the first time I've grieved. So actually I learned that all my grieving processes haven't been the same. I'm one to prone that your life should be like a movie. You should do everything for the plot, and life should be separated in chapters to make it more interesting. When something bad happens, you say, okay, it's for the plot, new people are entering, new things are happening, and this is what it's all about, it's life, and this is my end of my chapter or the episode in the series where I'm coming back from Greece, and this is the new series that people are waiting for. New people, new settings, the main character's the same, you're going to be evolved, but it's a new thing. But that's the thing with new chapters. Everything is new, and it can be scary at the same time. And when you enter a new chapter in your life, you know that it's going to end in some sort. You know that maybe this school year is going to end, this internship's going to end, maybe this friendship may end because someone's going to move, and things are going to come to an end. And I think when it actually does come to an end and your expectations are maybe exceeded or your expectations were perfect and you had such an amazing experience, you're already apprehending the end. Like, for instance, when I arrived in Greece, we already started talking when we realized that we were really happy here about things were going to come to an end. One day, I'm going to get on that flight and go home. And it would be constantly a conversation. And I think it created a lot of anxiety and apprehension due to the fact that I was going home at some point. And we all say that time flies, but time actually does fly, and like sooner than you know it, you're going to actually be at the end of it. And this is me, like during this period, and maybe you, like maybe you're stressing for the new chapter and still grieving the old chapter. And this is the whole point I want to talk about, is this point between two chapters where you're scared for the future, but you're also reminiscing on the past. And you feel this deep feeling of nostalgia. And I'm someone, I would like to qualify myself as hyper nostalgic. I'm someone who will be reminiscing on something that happened 2 hours ago, or even in the present moment. I'll be the one to say, we're going to look back at this and it's going to be the best memory ever. And I feel like I feel things more than people around me. For the most part, I feel like things may be more intense for me. Maybe sometime I won't even express it, but I think it's due to the fact that I hadn't been happy for a long time prior. So now when I feel happy, I want to keep that feeling with me as much as possible. And that was mainly this feeling when I was leaving Lyon at the end of my 2 years of studies. And I was really apprehending leaving because I was scared that because the people I met already had like different groups of friends and I didn't have that much. I was like, okay, they're going to move, I'm going to be on my own again, whatever. And it wasn't the case. And I was very pleased. And I think that's helped me eliminate the anxiety of maybe moving on and my friends staying behind. But like that was the time when I left Lyon, and I was like, I'm saying Lyon, but I was hyper nostalgic. But when I left Germany, I was so fucking excited to leave. Like I had good memories, I met amazing people, but at the same time, I didn't like what I was doing there. I just wanted to get the hell out of that place because it was attached to so many bad memories due to my health, etc. And I just wanted to leave. But at the same time, when I left, I felt sad for a moment and I was like, Amelia, why are you feeling sad? You were sad there, you wanted to leave. But then I was sad because I realized I was sad about what my experiences, I wanted it to be. I had to grieve what would have been and what I wanted and what I expected of this experience. So at the same time, it was kind of weird because I was sad about having been sad. So I feel that was the easiest one to grieve over, but that's something I think you should notice is, imagine you're coming out of high school and you hated high school, but you're still grieving the end of high school because you're like, okay, this is the end of it. My high school experience will never be what I expected. And I've already talked about this in my podcast, the fact like le temps passe trop vite. So I think that one's really interesting to conjoin between both of them. And now the third time I had to grieve recently was obviously Greece. And I feel I was in denial. And because I was one of the last volunteers to leave, I was constantly in this denial situation and I felt numb. I didn't feel any feelings. And I think my brain was unconsciously preparing me to get like a smack in the face and be like woken up and be like, okay, girl, you're going to feel sad for a moment, because everyone was leaving and I wasn't. So I really didn't get it. And then when they left, I was like, okay, shit, like this is real. And sadly, that kind of happened too late. But at the same time, now I'm home and I think like maybe if I wasn't in denial, I would have grieved earlier, but there was nothing I could do. There's nothing I could have really done to not feel denied because I wanted to cry. I wanted to feel sad to get it over and done with because I knew the feelings were going to come at some point, but they didn't. So that's what happened. If you speak French, I don't know who's listening, but if you speak French, Anna RVR with her podcast Contre Soirée did a podcast on the syndrome post-Erasmus, like the feelings you could have when you come back from Erasmus. I haven't listened to it because I didn't want to listen to it before doing this podcast because I was scared like her opinion would influence what I was going to say unconsciously. So I'm definitely going to listen to it after. And I think a lot of people actually recommended me to listen to it, but I'm just going to wait and listen to it once I've uploaded these. But that could be really good if you're coming back from Erasmus and we're dealing with that feelings. I hate saying goodbye as well. Like, I suck at saying goodbye. I would rather not see you and not say goodbye than do the whole huggy, goodbye, cry thing. Because then I cry for like 30 minutes after and it's horrible. So I think I'm one that really sucks with like saying goodbye to like relationships, people, experiences. Is like, it digs really in there. But to answer my question that I said earlier about why do all good things come to an end, I think that they wouldn't be as good if they didn't come to an end. I don't see if you understand what I mean, but like If these things were indefinite and wouldn't have like a timestamp to like mark the end, we wouldn't make as much the most of it. Because I knew that I had 3 months in Greece, I actually made so much the most of like these 3 months I could possible, because I knew I would only have 3 months. But if I was moving to Greece without having like a timestamp to mark the end, I wouldn't have made the most of it. I made the most of people laughing, of talking with my friends until crazy hour on the balcony, because I knew that I was going to leave at some point and I needed to make the most of it. I had no choice but to. So I think good things come to an end because they're good things. And normal things just don't, because they're normal. And I think a lot of our fear of things coming to an end stems from the fact that we fear what's coming next. What if I'm not going to be as happy? What if my friends aren't going to be in this chapter of my life, but I want to keep them? But at the same time, it depends. I realized that it depended on me. It depended on me to make me happy. It depended on me to attract the best experiences, to get out there. And I realized when I was coming home, I was like, okay, bored, I'm going to be in my hometown. But I'm the one that's going to make me happy. Nobody's going to step in and say, hey, Amelia, let's make this the best experience ever. I have to make my summer worthwhile, even if I'm in my hometown. And I'm going to try and make my best of it and say, okay, I'm only in my hometown for 2 months before going back to Lyon to finish my studies. So make the most of it and have to perceive it as if there is a deadline on making the most of it. And I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason. And I think this one reassures me a lot. I feel if this comes to an end, it means that something else is waiting for me. And I just have to be excited to discover what it is. And this is my transition into how to actually grieve what once was and now experience what's going to come. And again, I believe it's all perspective. You can either see this as the end of one of the best things in your life, or you can see it at the start of something new. You get like a blank page, you get like a clean slate, and you're able to start from zero. And that doesn't happen a lot in life. Like imagine you're finishing school and it's your summer. You got a blank page, you got 2 months to do something really cool. You're finishing an internship, you're having a clean slate to start something new. And even if you're coming out of a relationship you got broken up with, you lose friends, you got a clean slate. You can find a new boyfriend, write down what you want, go search for it. You got loads of things. You just have to shift the perspective. And I stopped thinking of like, this is the best time of my life, I'm never going to get it back. No, I'm entering a new period of my life and I can make it even better if I want to. And one thing that reassures me so much, it means if you're sad, it means that you were happy. And that's really nice to say. I'm sad because I was happy. And I would much rather feel sad and happy than numb, than feel nothing. Because when I felt numb, I was like, what's wrong with me? And I would rather feel everything more than other people than feel nothing at all. Because that's the whole point of life. If you're not sad and happy, like, what is it worth living? And I've kind of concluded that I should let go of these past moments in my life to let new things enter, maybe new people. Even though I'm very well surrounded and I don't feel the need of new people, maybe I'll meet someone. I've been single for way too long. I'm not really searching for, but maybe the fact that I've come back from Greece is letting the door open for someone to come in my life because I haven't been settled down. And my fear of the future and this period in life definitely stemmed from my fear of change. I don't like change. I think change is good sometimes, but I feel like when it's in my life in general, I'm kind of fearful because at the moment I'm happy. And I mean, if change comes, then may bring in the eventual possibility that I may be unhappy or not as happy. So I want to stay in my comfort zone. But at the same time, change is unavoidable. Change is everywhere. And I think that's the only thing that's constant between the past, the future, the present. Change will always be there. And that's actually a fucking good thing. I think that's really important. And that's what makes life actually interesting. Because imagine if the seasons were all the same. Imagine if you were actually doing the same job all your entire life, or you had the same friends your entire life. You wouldn't change as a person. And that makes life quite boring. And I believe that there's two ways of perceiving this change and this moment in your life. It's either you can break down, be sad, and just stay in the past and reminisce, or you can learn lessons, evolve, and then see it as a new slate. And I think that's the best way, and I'm trying to. I know it's hard, and I know you're grieving, and I know everything, and you're nostalgic, but you've done that before. That's why I try to imagine, like, I've grieved before. I've grieved leaving Lyon, and I really thought that would be really nostalgic for a long time. I'm still nostalgic, but when I look back, I don't feel sad. I feel happy that that even existed and I got the chance to meet them people. So here are a few tips that I've kind of like gathered to actually learn how to move on that I noticed with friends or whatever. The first one was obviously like, you've already grieved before. You've already like had change and like accepted things like that come to an end before. So that's a good one. But also remember, there was negative aspects. Like, it hasn't always been just positive. Our brain naturally filters like negative aspects, and I have to remember that. Okay, I loved living with all my friends, but at the same time I hated sharing my room, I hated my single bed, I hated the bathroom, I hated the kitchen, the apartment was kind of crappy. So I have to remember that it wasn't all positive, and even those are like going to transform into good memories, and I can now laugh at it. I know it wasn't all amazing, and I have some things that are actually better in my life right now. Another thing that's always helped me, and I actually created a TikTok trend involuntarily about it, but I made a podcast about how time goes really quick. But I mentioned about souvenir boxes and like keepsakes and like bringing receipts and tags and putting them in boxes. And I know at any moment I want to relive that experience, I can open that box and I'll be brought back to every single little memory that happened at that point in time. And I can rewatch videos and everything. It'll make me feel sad and nostalgic, but I will become gushing back with memories. And I think that is a really cool thing to do. Even if you're not someone that would naturally do that, I think if you're going through a tough time and you're really scared that it's coming to an end, try to keep little things. And then you know that these things will actually live in the whole time. Like coming back from my Erasmus, I feel like it was all a dream. I literally feel like it was a dream. I feel like nothing existed and I just slept for 3 months. And now when I see objects that I bought there in my house at home in France, I feel like this isn't normal. Like, this is another dimension. What is this object doing here? So it's reassuring to know that, okay, it wasn't a dream. It actually existed and I can feel these emotions again. What's also important is to like externalize your emotions. Like, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling happy, if you're feeling anxious, or whatever, write it down, film yourself recording, like express the things, let things out, because the more you keep it bottled up post moment, like send a message to your friend like, hey, like I feel this way, whatever, like let it out. And that's the second point I want to say. If someone from that period you miss, like imagine you've just finished high school and you really miss your friends from high school or from uni or even a job, send a message and most likely that person will be feeling the same. And that's what I said about Lyon. I was scared people were going to move on and not me. But at the end of the day, not at all. They've stayed more in contact than even I have sometimes. And I'm going to see them this weekend. And just by sending messages and like flashbacks and Snapchat memories, it manages to stay in contact and still create relationships when you're far. So yeah. I'm now going to give like the tip for a younger version of myself, and I would literally say don't take for granted the fact that you feel things more than other people. It's not a default to feel more emotional or more happy or more sad or misunderstood or whatever. It's actually a gift because you would much rather feel that way than feel nothing at all. And just make the most of even the stupid normal days, because one day I'm going to reminisce on like being able to take the bus back from high school or stuff that was stupid that right now you're probably experiencing and you don't even know how nostalgic you will be of them things. So yeah, if you liked this English episode, let me know. I'll try to do some more in the future, or I can go back to Anglais or whatever. I can do a mix of everything. I'm now going to edit it, post it in like an hour, so we're literally having a live conversation. And if you got your results from Le Bac in France, I really hope you got what you wanted. And yeah, so goodbye and see you next week.